welcome back to the Polish American Brotherhood. This is episode 4. All right, so we've had 4 consistent Tuesdays and Thursdays, Dad. We want to greet everybody?
Well, first thing I want to say, sorry for the delayed. We getting improved, and eventually we're gonna be good in this. Okay, so today we want to talk about a little bit what's happening in America. Okay, this is our favorite subject about the police, ICE, Tara wearing the border patrol.
You guys
One
like
thing
my
I
new
want to
hat?
tell you that there is 80,000 application for 10,000 opening for the ICE. They announced today.
Oh, yeah, because they're expanding and hiring a lot more. And then there's more
Right,
training and
right.
everything.
So if you're interested, fill out the application. Maybe you can help America to be great again.
I mean, that's a lot of jobs that are being created.
Yep. I wish to be in a border patrol, but my age.
Maybe you can come out of retirement. But I think you need to be physically able to take people down.
Well, if I would be younger, I was good in physical activity, especially around my 20s. But now I'm at the age when I retire, and 76, I still keep going.
Exactly. Health is wealth. I mean, actually, so like this morning, Dad, I was at a boxing class. This was my second time taking a boxing class. I started last week and everything, just with kind of being on the ground. This is Florida. You have the right to defend yourself. I'm not one to carry a firearm, though Florida is now a open carry. You can open carry to around Florida and everything, but I think as a woman, it's always good to know like self-defense. And then also, since we're going to be back out on the street, putting ourselves back out there, some people become more aggressive. And I remember watching Caitlin Bennett on Liberty Hangout. And like when somebody had poured water on her, she had this like pretty cool grip on the guy before her security team and like took him away. So I want to be able to do those kind of moves if somebody decides to faffle.
So that's great. Are you doing boxing? Did you knock out anybody?
I mean,
today?
I attempted to knock out the bag, but the bag reflexed and,
Yeah. Well, America needs good fighters, especially with all those criminals which been running, especially during the Biden administration. We have to get those criminals out of our country, and that's what Trump is doing now.
A crazy thing that my friend was telling me about earlier, though, with how with the government shutdown, the EBT cards are going to stop now. And so people were like threatening online that they're going to start stealing food, not from the grocery store, but from other people as they exit out of the grocery store. I mean, that's crazy. So my friend was saying like, maybe I should start like carrying hers. And I feel pretty safe here in Seminole County. That crime won't be too much of an issue here, but that's a crazy notion if people are saying that they're going to be doing that, stealing from other people, and that I understand you're in a dire circumstance in some cases, so I can't exactly relate, but you shouldn't be resorting to crime.
Yeah, well, it's not only the crime on the street, but all the scams. With with that technology, what we have now, that you can scam somebody from another country, and to this time, it wasn't that much to do. I believe that even the scammers coming from another country, we can pinpoint them exactly where they're coming from, and if we cannot regain the money from those scammers, we should put more tariffs on the country which they allow those scammers to operate. They know exactly because they have a big offices. They pretending to be that. Try to help you or something like that with the computers, but actually all what they want to do, clean up your bank account.
I mean, like those online scams with like when they hack your account, your Facebook or your Instagram account, then they start messaging everybody that's on your friends list saying like, hey, I've been kidnapped, or I lost my wallet, send me $3,000. I mean, there are people who fall for that, and quite often I would say it's the elderly that aren't familiar with the scams, and then also with how crazy AI is, it can completely like replicate your voice, and it could be as if, you know, me calling dad and saying like, I've been kidnapped, like in order to pay my ransom you have to send $5,000 to so and so account, and it'd be like exactly like your voice. So they recommend having like a safety word with family members or with people, so that way you know it's actually them.
Yeah, everybody feel cool till they gonna get scammed themselves, then they raise their voice, But we have to protect, especially the older people, retirees people, to not be scammed. And that's what, like even in Poland now, they assign 300 police to uh, watch what the scammers is doing, and they're doing good job. We can do even better in America, because mostly those scammers are targeting the Americans, because they know Americans have some money, especially the retirees have some money. And when I watch the scammers, how they wipe out all the banks from the retirees, it makes me a little bit sad, that we're not doing that much.
Yeah, that's something that I agree with Dad, that the US should also get on, is like those type of like cyber crimes, because they're coming from outside of our country as well. Not so much like domestic scams, but also the international scams, with hiking our with cybersecurity and taking people's like information and then using AI and blackmailing people, all that crazy stuff.
And can you imagine that police is to protect us? And what the Democrats doing, try to be against the policemen. When we went for that protest, anti-Trump protest, or what they call No Kings, there was some punks which they calling to destroy the police. Well, without the police, can you imagine what would happen to us, to our country? We fight the criminals every day, and when you see sometimes, because the policemen have the cameras now, how the criminals behave, they try to fight the police. And in my opinion, if you are a good person, okay, never raise the voice on a policeman, and keep what they telling to you to, because you're always going to be the loser. You cannot fight the police. Even if you think they are wrong, you cannot fight them. Obey the order, because they also try to protect their own life, because they don't know if you have a gun, if you can kill them. So they always try to protect themselves, the number one, okay? And if they come, stop you, you would be always better to cooperate with the police, because otherwise, if you accelerate this problem, you only be the one who gonna be the losing things.
I mean, that's what comes with everything can be resolved afterwards. So like even if you feel like you're being wrongfully arrested, you can still like have things taken care of in the back end, and eventually it will resolve itself. But you don't need to escalate the situation when tensions are tough or whatever, resisting arrest. Just let it all be figured out when the situation won't escalate.
That's right. Never think the police are bad people, okay? Because if they're doing their job, you cannot bribe them anymore, because they have cameras, okay? If they're doing something wrong, they gonna find out, because they have cameras. And you gonna be always the one who gonna be losing if you're gonna try to do something not properly. You're not gonna obey the order. I was in a situation myself when I was coming back from the gym, and I didn't make probably the full stop. The police stopped me, and they asked me first to keep my hands on a steering wheel, and asked me for the driver license. I give him a right way, and I apologize whatever I did wrong. I didn't ask what did I do wrong. I knew if they stopped me, then I did something wrong. Okay, so registration, insurance, proof of insurance, and he was very nice to me. He gave me a warning. He told me don't do that anymore, because you have to make a full stop at the lights when you make the turn. I was making the right turn. And, you know, if you're nice to the police, they always going to be nice to you.
I mean, that's the importance of having a well-funded police force also, so that way they have the resources they need. A lot of countries that are corrupt actually they don't pay their police officers appropriately to make a living, so part of how they end up getting by is by having bribes. And so I don't think that is as common. I'm not saying it's not happening in the US. There's always instances of that, but in more developed countries, as opposed to like third world countries where people are not paid enough of a living wage and everything, that's when they're resorting more to like bribery and
Yeah.
everything. So hopefully in America, like that's why police force needs to be adequately funded. I was listening to NPR this morning, and there was so there's a trial currently going on. I forgot the names of the people involved, but basically there was a woman who had made a phone call to the police. It was a mental health issue. And then, so when the police officers arrived to be assisting her, she had a boiling pot of water on the stove. And so the police were telling her to put it away and, clear it. And so she then threw the boiling pot, aimed at the officers, and one of the officer who's currently standing trial now for murder, shots fired, and he ended up killing her in that. And so in the body cam footage, you can hear him say that he wasn't going to be taking, the scalding water, the boiling water to his body or to his face. And that's part of the problems that we have with how the left says it should be social workers, but a social worker then doesn't have the same resources or training as a police officer, and a police officer doesn't have the same training as a social worker. So a social worker can't go and kumbaya basically the moment, but also how do you handle those situations, because a lot of people do have mental illness. And so what is exactly that middle ground of what is correct in that situation? I don't think that a person, because boiling water will cause permanent disfigurement to the person. So is he in the right or the wrong to have shot her dead? I don't know. The courts will decide.
Yeah, whatever, it's normal for the people when the police stop you, you're getting angry. But smart people always control that, because they know that if you cooperate with the police, you're going to come a little bit less to be punished than if you show your angriness to the police. Because, when the cops approaching you, you don't know who you are. It takes only 1 second that you can pull the gun, and then you can either kill the police or police going to kill you. So
and then
be careful.
Also, in all fairness to police, there are a lot of instances where the person in traffic stops then become violent and attack the police and everything. So they have to, without knowing who's in the vehicle at the time, they have to be defensive. So it's just important to cooperate and have a solid, controlled attitude whenever you're interacting with a police authority in law enforcement. Which pivoting now to U.S. Border Patrol, some interesting reels I was hoping to share, but I was having an issue connecting the iPad to the computer, so that's why there was a little bit of a delay. But did you see that Mexico is also having protests for illegal immigrants?
Yeah, there is not only the United States, the other countries too. If you in the other countries, I heard that, let's say in Saudi Arabia, if you overstay your visa, you stay illegally, it's 8 years, they can put you for 8 years in prison,
Yeah, I mean, other countries have been, maybe Europe hasn't done exactly the best job, except for Poland, with enforcing their border patrols and everything. But when U.S. has started to enforce our laws, we see all of these protests against it. And, linking back to the Obama administration, no one was protesting against the deportation, and Obama was the deportation king. Like, the amount of deportations that have occurred now still pales in comparison to the amount that Obama had actually deported. And then also, when you look at past debates from the Democrats, I believe it was, I don't know who was running at the time, but all of the Democrats were saying how they're all against illegal immigration and how we have to strengthen our borders and everything. It's only once Trump came into office and said basically the exact same thing as everyone else, the Democrats always have to take the opposite to whatever Trump is trying to promote or even saying. I mean, if he were to say that air is bad for you, I wonder if some Democrats would be holding their breath just to do the opposite of what Trump is saying.
Well, one thing, when I become an American citizen, I joined the Democratic Party because that's what they stand for the democracy. But now, what they're doing, I don't like it. That's why I'm supporting President Trump, because I see he wants to do really good thing for America, and Democrats try to do everything what is wrong for America. So that's not really good. If anybody now in my shoes, that they Democrat, you can be stay as a Democrat, but you cannot support the evil things. The protest against the President Trump for the good things what he wants to do in America. It is wrong, okay? And I'm not supporting the Democrats because they are Democrats. I'm supporting the idea of making America great. We want to keep America great, and we will fight to make America great.
I mean, when you think of the evolution of the party and everything, so I would say, I don't know, others might say I'm more of a right winger, or I always consider myself to be moderate, and so I felt to be myself like a centrist. And then so the whole family has been Democrat our entire lives until Trump ran for office. Actually, for me, it was the second time he ran for office in 2020. I was a anti-Trumper before that. I was a never Trumper, and I just thought, orange man bad. Very simple thinking. And then I saw basically everyone had to pay attention to politics in 2020 with the shutdowns. We had nothing to do but be on social media. And then actually when Dad and I started going out there to attend some of the protests, attend some of the rallies, and I realized what was being depicted on the media was very different than what was occurring. And then I started paying attention to the actual full-length press conferences as opposed to the media clips that would be projected out and be the title of these news articles. As often when people are busy, it takes, here in America, it requires a lot of time and research in order to get a unbiased perspective of what's actually happening out there versus the way it's being reported. And then so after I saw those discrepancies, that's when, my critical thinking started kicking in. I'm like, hey, we're all being lied to about what's actually going on. And then when I started, having my red pill moment of understanding what was actually going on, that's how I became a Trump supporter and realized that he was actually doing the right things for America and putting America first.
That's right. One thing, the government paying big money for the ICE, and if you guys want to explain to me, what the ICE supposed to do? Protect the country from the illegals, or just sit at home doing nothing, and the government the taxpayers going to pay big money for them just for sitting at home? They have to do the job to protect America from illegals coming here. Even if you, in my opinion, if you somebody from another country coming here, okay, and because they want to do something good for America, report yourself to the police, get the fingerprints, and basically America is a big country. Mr. Trump, you're doing a good job. Okay? So the thing it is, let the government know that you are here and that you want to do something for America. And I'm sure United States is a big country, and we can accommodate any amount. Mostly, if you're coming here to America and promise that you're gonna be good American person.
I mean, the start of that is by following the law and coming in through the legal process, and it is a dedication to go through the legal process. And so those who are skipping the line for that and just they are, in my opinion, very entitled because they see themselves as being above the law because they're not following the law.
Mr. Trump,
But
hi, how are you?
I think it's interesting though when I see the protests that are going here in the U.S. and then just today I started seeing a bunch of reels of the protests that were going on in Mexico, and they were protesting like Honduran migrants that were coming through, and now that America's enforcing its southern border and illegal border crossings have basically gone now to zero. Mexico is now enforcing its law also, which then because before the Mexico was basically giving like a temporary visa for migrants to be able to go through Mexico because it didn't become Mexico's problem when people were just trying to get through Mexico then to reach the U.S. But now that they're not being allowed to enter into the U.S., it is becoming Mexico's problem with the migrants that are coming through. So Mexico now with the pressure from the U.S., they're enforcing their southern border also because they're having the migrant problem coming through into their Mexican cities, and they don't want to deal with it either. So you have protests that are going on in Mexico about having illegal migrants come through their country. And it's just like ironic when you see like the Mexican flag in our protests here. I mean, it has nothing to do with I don't know. It has nothing to do with your ethnicity. It has to do with like your allegiance to the country. So that's why as Americans, we want to put America first. As Mexicans, they want to put Mexico first. And everybody has a pride and a right to safety in their own country.
Well, one thing I don't understand, maybe you guys can explain to me that like Mexico, Colombia, and Venezuela is the biggest country which produce all those drugs, cocaine, and stuff like that, and the government not doing enough over there. So I think the United States have to take care of it. But if the government, like Colombian president, president of Venezuela or Mexican, they saying, "Oh, United States getting involved in our affairs" and something like that. They start crying about it. Well, this is your responsibility, Mr. President of Mexico, to take care of to solve the problem with the cartels. El Salvador did really quick the job, put all the criminals like MS-13 gangs in jail, and now it's a very peaceful country, safe country.
Yeah, they say that El Salvador is now extremely safe because of the
safe,
measures
yes,
that
that's
their
right,
president has taken.
I believe that the Mexico or Colombia, Venezuela can take the example from El Salvador and clear up. And our responsibility, I mean, Mr. Trump's responsibility, it is to kick all the criminals who coming here and try to poison the American people with all those fentanyl drugs, which are killing millions of Americans, and if they organize anti-Trump protest, anybody who support Trump should show over there not to fight, peacefully show also the sign we are supporting Mr. Trump. Okay, that's our job. We're going always to those protests and we try to question them what they up to, but they don't have answer. They don't even want to talk to us about what actually they fighting for. And we know that they sponsored by the Democrats, or one of those guys who sending the money, he's under investigation by the Trump administration. And
yeah,
I
Cash
heard
Patel is Cash Patel. They're following where the money goes,
right.
and they're finding out exactly where. And so Antifa has been declared as a domestic terrorist group here in the U.S., but it's on its way to also being named as an international terrorist group in the U.S.
And another thing, I just saw it on the news that wife of Charlie Kirk, suing Soros for $800 million because he's involved too in those shit what's going on in, in America. So
Yeah, that's good. I mean, we'll follow the money trail and see what they are able to uncover. But we've got, Trump has a good administration. I'm a fan of Kash Patel and the work that he's doing with the FBI, and I think we'll get some answers hopefully very soon. Going back to the point about the different crime gangs and cartels that are bringing in the drugs into America, particularly fentanyl. So in the recent years, like the death statistics have altered for I can't claim off the top of my head for the age group, but for young adults, because of the number of fentanyl deaths that are happening. Because like when kids think that they're just taking marijuana, it might be laced with fentanyl and then end up overdosing and dying off of it, because it takes a small amount to cause death. And so part of like Trump's initiatives with protecting America, they've been blowing up did you hear about this, Dad? They've been blowing up the boats that been carrying the drugs. And so like I believe it was like Venezuela or maybe Colombia that had the drug smugglers. And so I saw a post earlier about how now that it's like a death sentence to be a drug smuggler. And I'm like, yes, absolutely, because for the amount of fentanyl that could be on that boat, it could be killing like over 200,000 Americans. So if you're going to be smuggling in fentanyl and everything, that's going to be one of the risks you're going to have to take, is get blown up by America on those boats. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, the military doesn't fool around anymore. If they don't stop with those speedboats going north towards America, shoot them, kill them. That's my opinion. Okay, so I still wanted to say it. Why in America is so many homeless people? Look at those streets, mostly in Los Angeles or San Francisco. Those people looks like they are in drugs. Okay, the one thing, why America is so homeless? Can we find a system that we kind of can remove those homeless people from the cities and put them like on a farm? I don't know. I have the idea, but nobody wants to listen to me. I sent the letter to White House. They answered me, of course, and they says, "Good luck with your project." Well, I don't need the good luck. I need the government help to build my project, okay, which would solve all the retirees problems and homeless problem in America.
Well, the Trump administration, actually, one of their initiatives that is really good that I support is they're redirecting the funds that were used for housing illegal migrants. They're redirecting that funding to veterans, to homeless veterans, because you have a lot of and also like mental health services, because with PTSD and a lot of like addiction problems that our veterans would have after having their experiences abroad while protecting the USA and devoting their life to that. Like there's going to be mental health issues for some of them, for what they witnessed or what they did in order to keep us safe here in America. And then as a result of those mental health issues and whatnot, like people who served and protected the U.S., for society just to cast them out and allow them to be homeless. So that's wonderful that the money that we were spending billions in our cities to be housing illegal migrants, people who are not U.S. citizens, people who did not lay their life before them to be protecting the USA. Instead, we were putting our funds into that.
One thing what I want to say, veterans should be number one who should be helped, to solve their problems. But also, what I understand, a lot of people, they told me, it's not my opinion, but a lot of people told me that the money which is supposed to help those homeless people, mostly the packed by the politician. There is a lot of stuff which is done by the criminal politicians. Okay,
I mean,
so
it's quite ironic that the Democrat-run cities that spend the most on these social services and tax the most of of the people living in these states in their cities, like they have still the biggest problems.
yeah, they saying, oh, we billion of dollars we sending to the help the homeless, but no result. They just opening hands. We cannot do anything about it. Well, the first thing what we have to ask, where did the money go? This is taxpayers' money. It's your money. So if you guys wanna just give me the idea, if you have a better idea than me about solving the homeless and retirees, let me know. Okay, the for me to solve the retirees problem, it is that when you retire and you don't have a criminal record, keep your record clean. You try to do something good for America. You should have a better life when you retire. Not worry that your money will run away or there will be like Democrats scaring or somebody stealing the money from the Social Security and stuff like that. Well, they are the ones, the Democrats stealing the money. That's why they are so protective about they are so protective about the criminals because they making the money on the criminals too.
Yeah, and I mean that's why the having implemented Doge was great with going basically auditing and finding out where the fraud, waste, and abuse was happening. I mean, we shouldn't be spending money on like male circumcision and Maui and all those Maui. Oh, what's that? The Mali? I don't know.
Well,
But it was going to some crazy stuff. It was going to some crazy stuff.
there a lot of money went for some kind of stupid things to another country. Okay, while we have our own problems, and like Mr. Trump says, America first, American people first, American citizens first. Not that we sending the big money to another country and for some stupid things, But mostly, if they Democrats sending the money, okay, they mostly pocket the money also, before they even send to the other countries.
So, Dad, I have a question for you. For when you, in your experience of getting asylum in Italy and then immigrating from Canada to being, well, you were accepted into the refugee program over in Canada, and then and eventually you were able to immigrate into the U.S. When you were escaping from communism, like when you had to go through the borders, it was Yugoslavia, right, to Italy. Well, there they don't borders like have patrols that actually like shoot you like when you're trying to go through?
Well, Yugoslavia basically was not a part of the like Soviets. They've been more open. They've been Yugoslavia mostly it was communist, but was like between the West and East. Okay, so it wasn't that bad. There may be a bin patrol over there, but I was lucky that people, even Yugoslavian people on the border, they helped me, okay? Because when I was crossing, the big storm came and I almost was freezing from the cold, so they let me sleep in a bar, they gave me a food and they gave me to cover. And I was enough stupid to not know what to do when I came to Italy. But when I went to the police, they've been very helpful. They took me back to the refugee camp and they really took care of me. So that's why I see there is always solution when you want to come to America. Well, you have to do the legal way, okay?
And
if
the
you
process
cannot,
that you actually went through was the legal way, because they it was very difficult to be escaping from communism. So it wasn't like a flood of people that were trying to, in a sense, trying to get out, because why would anybody want to escape from paradise? So it wasn't a lot of people weren't able to be getting out, and the Western world had at that time we were like engaged in the Cold War or something, so that they wanted people who because you deflected from communist Poland at the time, so basically you became like a man without a country by being a defector, right? You defected.
Well, when I
You're
came
a
to
political
Italy, I asked
asylum.
for a political asylum. Okay, and there was a lot of from another countries, mostly communist countries, which they tried to. When you came to the refugee camp, they tried to help you for all this because that was a political thing. Okay, so there was been a lot of Russian, there been a Bulgarian, Hungarian, Polish people, but one thing what I have to say, I didn't break the Polish law because actually I left Poland legally to Yugoslavia. I broke the Yugoslavian-Italian law because actually I crossed the border illegally. But they had a system at the time with the refugees camp that they actually welcomed all the refugees from another country. Now, if you're coming
So within that system, though, you were following still within the system. It was just to get to the border and report to like a refugee camp. So that was their system that was in place. So I wouldn't say that you were breaking the law. Like versus now, like people were just entering into the U.S. not reporting to, because people who are claiming asylum, they can get to the U.S. border to a border crossing and declare themselves, and so that is part of like the process. And so I believe that Trump put in that if you bypass that and just go into the US, if you are found and deported, then you won't be able to be applying for asylum or citizenship or anything like that, because you've already broken the law for it. Because if you are claiming political asylum to the US, first of all, claiming asylum, the refugee program, it's that when it was established after World War II, it's to get to the first safe country. So people are doing it the wrong way even now, because if you're bypassing Mexico, you can claim political asylum when you get to Mexico if you're coming from other Latin countries, South American countries, or Central or South American countries. Like you're supposed to get to the first country that you are safe, and you declare yourself there, and you actually get your asylum there, and then you're able to go apply into refugee programs internationally. So Dad, after he got his political asylum in Italy, he applied into different programs around the world. He chose Canada because his ultimate goal was to come to the US, and after becoming a Canadian citizen, it's easier to then immigrate into the US. But you could have chose what, Australia also? Australia accepted you?
There was actually countries which was open for the refugees was South Africa. Most of the people been going to Australia, United States, Canada. There was some, also Germany was open, Switzerland. Like my friend went to Switzerland. So there was a lot of countries which welcome at that time refugees. But what I want to say, coming back to United States, that the thing it is, you have to register yourself at once you cross the border, with the police that you are here, okay? And so they know that you not maybe commit some kind of criminal thing, or maybe you are mentally sick or something like that, okay?
They still have to do a background check and everything. You
Yeah,
were
the
so
whole
like when
idea.
you went into Italy, you were also detained and held at a detention center basically
Well,
until they were able to screen you.
there was a Interpol checking me, okay? Then was the FBI and the country which you immigrate. They also interview you if you are okay, and they knew my background, okay, completely. That I'm not maybe escaping, and maybe I killed somebody in the other country, and now you coming to United States and. What the hell? Who you are when you coming to United States illegally and not reporting yourself? Okay?
Yeah, like you might have some sort of criminal background. Otherwise, why not just declare yourself and go through the legal process?
Poland is very strict on the illegal immigration, but they advise everybody, if you coming to, let's say, to another country like Belarus, okay, which mostly the Lukashenko bringing all the people to to Belarus and tell them go on the border so you can get to Poland or another country. Okay, Poland advising those people. We have the embassy in Belarus. Go over there, register yourself, and then we see if we can accommodate you in Poland.
Yeah, because one thing I want to highlight that not everybody is a refugee. There's a difference between a refugee and an economic migrant. Economic migrant is we all want a better life and the best place in the world where you're not defined by the place the level of your birth is America. Like you can be born into a poor family and rise above your station. And that's a very unique opportunity because we have a capitalist society that if you work, you're smart, and you play the cards that you were dealt right, you can succeed above what you were born into. And then so a lot of people want to come to America for that opportunity. And so, but we can't accommodate, the entire world can't be living in America.
Well, one thing, when you come illegally here, and just think your neighbor is some kind of illegal immigrant, which is not checked by the police who you are. Would you like to have a neighbor like that? You know, you don't know who is that person. You know.
Yeah. Let's see. 360 Chris has a question for you. Marion, what was communism like? Was it like what you were seeing now? So can you compare like your experience of growing up in communist Poland? Is there any similarities to the type of agenda that's being implemented here?
Well, basically, communists keep a hand on everybody, you know, especially keep watch for the people who try to open a business. They did allow a very small business, but it was very controlled. But just think, like Elon Musk came to the United States, he didn't have any money, right? But he makes some kind of ideas which make him the richest guy in the world. He never would succeed in a communist countries like that.
Absolutely, because in a communist state, you don't own the product that you're making and you don't own the wealth from it. So it's with socialism, it's like divided up, but and redistributed. But then communism, it's like you just have a corrupt leader that's in there, and it's just going to take from you. And because these ideas like are good in theory, but every time that communism has been implemented into countries, you have like massive starvation. Like growing up, Dad, you had told me before that one of your motivations for wanting to have the American dream and to immigrate into the USA was because you grew up without some of the basic needs to live life. Like you didn't have food sometimes.
Yeah, well, about the food, basically Poland was after the war and was very poor country. So I understand that. But when you have some kind of idea and they won't let you develop the idea, this is very wrong. People who actually served the communists, they had a better life because they always been watching. If you need something, you have to give them the money, okay? And they have a big power over you when you've been, let's say, like a party members, or you have some kind of position in a government. They have always they own the country and they own you. And that's not right, okay? We want a more freedom, like in United States. You get a freedom here, long as you are a good person. You try to do good, you can make some kind of achievement, whatever you want to do.
One of the interesting things that when Dad and I were in Poland, we went to the Communist Museum. There was one display talking about how toilet paper all of a sudden became scarce, and that just reminds me of that because we had gone in 2021, and so it was still during pandemic times, and I started thinking about like how the world was shifting with all of us living under all these lockdowns and COVID restrictions, and how everybody was buying up the toilet paper, and toilet paper was like this huge scarcity. I just thought it was funny that that was also a common thing that happened in communist countries when they were having their shift into communism was there was a toilet paper shortage, and suddenly nobody could buy toilet paper. Like
Well,
toilet paper disappeared
talking
off the
about the
shelves.
toilet paper, in my time, when I live in Poland, you've been lucky if you get any toilet paper. We usually use communist newspapers. You didn't have another newspaper, it was just a communist paper, and that's what we had to use.
Oh yeah, because they also control the media. Of course, they get. Yeah.
Well, it's not a joke. That this is the truth, you know. You know, the newspaper was not that expensive, so anybody could afford to. And of course, they didn't throw the newspaper; they had to use in a toilet. And the toilet was mostly outside your building, you know.
Outhouse.
There was no flushing toilets or anything like that, you know. But you know, you grow in that, and you had to accept that life. But I always, since I was 12 years old, my friends they immigrate to America, and they had already family, and they've been talking about what America looks like. And even I was 12 years old, and I didn't know too much America, but in my mind was America. America is something what I want to go. You know, I succeed when I was 20 years because I didn't know how to, come to America.
I think I want to go to America. They look like they have food there. That would be good. Food there.
Yeah. Well, America is very rich. That's why I don't understand how we cannot solve the problem with the retirees and homeless problem, okay? Because homeless and retirees have some kind of connection, because if we solve the problem for the retirees can help, to for the homeless, anything left over from the retirees, they can help the homeless people. And I have the idea, but I don't have the money to develop my system.
I mean, that was a point that I was doing a little online Instagram debate with somebody, or maybe it was Facebook, I forget, but talking about like how America has so many problems and how can we call ourselves the greatest like nation or country in the world when and I was talking to a liberal or lefty about it. And so like my comeback to that is like, yeah, we are a rich nation. We should look at how our tax dollars are being distributed. I mean, in the sense of like, if we were taking care of housing illegal migrants over our own veterans, then we're not taking care of our own people. And so it's like, how is our tax dollars being distributed? Is that like effective with solving these kind of problems?
I'm sure there is a way to solve the veterans problem. That's number one. Homeless problem and retirees problem. And I have a great idea how to solve it, but I mentioned to you, I don't have money, I don't have friends which would help me, so that's why we try to carry the news that about the salvation of the homeless, retirees, and veterans problems. And hopefully, maybe someday, maybe somebody gonna hear me and gonna say, "Hey, I wanna hear what you have in your mind."
Exactly. Mr. Bell, absolutely. Food and charm and the motivations of immigrating to the USA out of communism. I know that before, if I would be upset and my dad would, being dad tries to solve your daughter's problems and everything, he's like, what is the problem here? You have food, you have roof. I don't understand why you cry.
Well, one thing you have to understand that nobody running away from the United States to communist countries, okay? Communist people try to get to America, and that's why we see a lot of immigrants, but they're doing the wrong way, They're doing that they try to force themselves, and, you cannot just be, America is the most legal country in the world. Law applies everywhere. But at the same time, we have so many criminals, And that's what Mr. Trump tried to do something about it. If you're coming to this country, you do crime, you don't belong to this country. We want to be safe in this country.
I think it's just like ironic too about, like, when we're seeing the different protesters on the ground and the things that they're supporting. The one that I always find quite peculiar is when the LGBT protesters are in support of like Sharia law or the Muslim countries. I'm like, here in the US, you might complain about being American, but you have the right to exist. Like, try going to one of those countries that you're advocating for, because you won't exist very long there.
I was talking to you that running for the Congress or Senate, you have to be born in the United States. And this is a clear example that
Stop tapping that, Dad.
okay, sorry, I didn't mean to make a noise, but you're coming from another country and you become citizen, okay, and after a few years you can run for Congress or Senate. Well, are you going to be a good American, or are you going to be still attached too much to your own country? For me, I understand. I came from another country, okay, and I try to be good American citizen, but I never would want to run for Congress or Senate, not being born in this country. A president have to be born in United States. All the politicians, okay, should be born in United States, because this way they attach the number one would be America, not just another country.
Yes. Then weren't you saying that they were proposing that as a law change for
Yeah,
Senate and Congress?
Jim Jordan, just a couple days ago, I mentioned to you, he proposing that to be a congressman or a senator, you have to be born in United States. So I will be watching if this his idea will pass or not.
I think it's a good idea, good proposition.
Yeah, it is good, and I hope they will put on a ballot and pass the law that you know because what Omar is doing, you know, she have a big mouth. I think they investigating her for crimes. What he, pocket a lot of money. So you understand now that she never was born here. When Mr. Trump says President Somali asked if he can take her to Somali, he says, we don't want her. Nobody wants her. And she's a congresswoman, and she didn't born in America.
I mean, that's also part of the reason why immigration has to be restrictive with the amount that can be coming in every year. Like, whenever there's a certain amount of like visas through the immigration process allotted to different countries, and then so like you get rolled over into the next year when your application is being processed. So depending on how many basically slots are available for acceptance into the US and how many people are applying from your country and everything, because there has to be that sweet spot of a ratio of, so that way that the Americans themselves are not displaced numbers wise and outnumbered by the amount of foreigners that come in, because otherwise that is going to change the makeup of the country. And when we welcome immigrants, and it's fun to have the diversity of food and cultures and everything. But for instance, if too many Muslims come into the US, and then Sharia law is something that could possibly happen, because there's not a separation between here we have separation of church and state, religion and law, but Sharia law is coming straight from the Quran. And then so, I mean, I personally do not want to be wearing a burqa, and that's what happens under Sharia law. So if we like our liberties the way they are, like, you have to have a sensible approach to the amount of immigrants that are coming into the US, so that we're not going to be changing our American values, because our American values are what has made America exceptional in the world.
Well, one thing what I support Mr. Trump, that he signed executive order. If you come on a visa to America, even if you receive green card and you mess up something criminally, okay, even if you drive a car under influence of alcohol, you're gonna lose your either green card or visa. You will be deported. So I support that, because when you come into the country and you cannot even live properly for a few years, you have to be deported.
Yes, because you're still a guest in the country. So you have to be, as a guest, you should be on your best behavior.
You
So
have to obey the law.
if that's
You
what
have
your
to be,
best behavior is, we don't want to find out what your worst behavior is.
Yeah. Even if you drive, you're coming to this country and drive under the influence of alcohol, you're not only endangering yourself, but you're endangering the other people, So I hope this is going to be completely solved, Right now, all what I heard that it's only the executive order, and if we're going to follow the law. But, when I drive the car, I don't want to be hit by somebody who coming to this country and under influence alcohol, he damage my car or
Kills you.
kill me or whatever,
Exactly.
So I think that Mr. Trump doing the greatest job, as a president, not only in the United States, but all over the world. He tried to make a peace with another country, even he tried to deal with that crazy Russian president, Uh, he's the biggest murderer because he killed already millions of the Ukrainian people. Not only he killing the Ukrainian people, but he killing also their own people, Russian people. What I understand now, he doesn't give even food for the Russian soldiers. They drink the dirty water from the river because they don't have enough water.
Yeah, and they had an airstrike too, and it hit a kindergarten classroom in the Ukraine.
Yeah, and another thing, I never forgive him what he done to Polish president. In 2010, he killed Polish president, and when they asked him, "Did you kill that?" Oh no, he lied. He's a hypocrite too.
Yeah, Trump's doing an amazing job with international relations. Like I was listening to the White House press conference earlier, and so he's on a plane now to head over to Malaysia, and then he's going to be in Korea, and then he's going to be like all these different stops in the next like several days, doing God's work. But it's just amazing how like out there that he is, and when you think of the Biden administration and how Biden didn't even step out to do anything. Like he could barely handle a conversation on camera. And now we have a president who will do an international relations tour in a couple of days, come back and handle all of our affairs here domestically. It's just like crazy how much energy Trump has at also like at his age. Like he's a mover and shaker for sure.
Yeah, he's 3 years older than me, 79 years old, but he has a lot of energy, So whatever he's doing in the international affairs, everybody have to support him, because like he says to Putin, it's better to make money than a wars. Wars destroy you, and I hope Russia will be destroyed because the president of Russia, he's an evil man. He should stop the war right away, and President Trump give him the right idea, but he don't listen, When he met President Putin in Alaska, and he says we're doing good progress. At the same time, Russia sends so many rockets bomb the Ukraine. So he's some kind of wolf. He's not even the bear what he thinks he wants to be. He's some kind of wolf, which you cannot trust it.
Well, now they're also doing sanctions with the oil or with gas. So against Russia, and the other players are going to, like India, it's not going to be buying any more of the Russian oil. So hopefully that puts more pressure with the sanctions.
Well, one thing what Russia has the big income it is from the oil and gas, and that's what they try to eliminate. Maybe we can buy the more expensive oil, like from Saudi Arabia or Iraq or another country which producing the oil, and stop buying the Russian oil, so they can lose the money and they cannot afford making war on Ukraine, because Ukrainian country was a sovereign country for so many years, and now Russia saying, no, it's our country. What the shit you talking about? It's a sovereign country. You have to respect the way they want to do it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Dad, we're approaching an hour right now, so we'll give some final remarks and we'll see you guys again on Tuesday. Thanks for joining us in the Polish American Brotherhood for our Thursday live stream, and we'll be streaming again on Tuesday and Thursday. This weekend, Dad and I are planning on doing some street interviews, thinking in the Winter Park area. We'll see if there's any markets or public activities and gatherings that we can hit. So we got some good questions lined up to give you guys some more content for your viewing pleasure. And for you guys who have not checked out yet the 2 videos that keep switching the wrong buttons. Where am I going? Dad, me. There we go. So for those of you guys who haven't checked out our Orlando and Tampa protests, so be sure you check that one out. I hope I did a nice job with editing and providing you guys with quality content with our street interviews. Be sure you like, share, and subscribe.
Hey guys, I have very pleasure to talk to you. Okay, maybe can exchange our views next time. We hope we're not gonna be late next time. How much time we've been late today? About 20 minutes, huh? So we apologize for that.
I think I'm gonna need a new Mac. So actually, the ports, I have 6 ports on the iMac, and yeah, I'm down to 1 now, so I can't connect anything.
Well, we have to do whatever will be necessary for doing our program, because we want to spread our ideas, and carry the good word about President Trump. So we do whatever we can to improve ourselves. And thank you guys for watching us, and I hope you will join my ideas, okay, to solve the retirees, homeless, and veterans problems. So we will be talking all the time, and just remember, never fight with the police or ICE. We needed ICE, okay? And you want to help the America? Support President Trump. We still need him for many years. And even if he's not going to run for the presidency next time, we still got J.D. Vance, and maybe even family of President Trump, they good guys, so.
I mean, I'm liking Barron. So Barron in the future, I think he's being raised into. I mean, all of Trump's children are wonderful.
He will be still too young to thinking about. So I think the next president after Mr. Trump gonna be J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
But then we talking about Barron.
Yeah, because we'll have 8 years of Vance after that, and then Barron's what, like 19, 20 now.
Donald Jr.
Yeah.
He is very outspoken, and I'm sure he has the same idea with Mr. Trump. But we count on this J.D. Vance. He presented himself very well. He's good outspoken, and he carried the minds of Mr. Trump. So thank you, guys. We love you all. Okay. So we hope we're going to see you next Tuesday.
Yes, next Tuesday. Yeah. And Mr. Bill, the S word, Scheiße? Not sure which S word you're referring to, so I'm assuming Scheiße. Scheist, right? What's Scheißer? Scheißer? Scheist?
Scheifer? I don't know.
Scheißer?
What's the name?
I don't know. I thought it was like a German word.
I'm sure he's a German, yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks again for joining us on the Polish American Brotherhood.
Thank you, guys. See you again.